Madden, Madden, Madden. Done 8 games so far in 7 weeks, and Madden is batting under 500 at the moment with a record of 3-5. We will see if Madden can turn that around with this prediction coming up between Philadelphia versus Dallas. What I believe to be the game of the week. And I think most people are looking forward to this because it is a huge game in the NFC East. Excuse me. With the Eagles starting the season undefeated at 3-0, losing 2 straight, and then coming back last week in a huge surprise, but they were playing at home, and they've had some huge home upsets, victories over, but beating the lonely, undefeated team that's no more the Minnesota Vikings. While the Dallas Cowboys, they started the season with a disappointing loss against the New York Giants because of poor clock management. But ever since then, they've been seeing blue skies in the Lone Star State. But the big question becomes, who's their quarterback? You can't tell me that Jerry Jones, for the slimmest of margin, wants to keep Dak Prescott under center. I mean, only would they have a QB situation when they're winning. But no, Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott for the Dallas Cowboys, they are phenomenal for a rookie duo. I mean, I say when you have hot rookies, their first years, teams are still trying to understand them. And once it's the next few years, teams finally understand what they're doing, so forth, and then they crack down on them. But this is going to be a good game, great game, and we'll see what Madden thinks is going to happen, and I'll tell you how I think how I feel who's going to win later on. But what a week 7 we had. When it came, I'm getting ever so close in my picks. I am 52 and 54 overall. I mean, if one game didn't end in a tie, that would help me a little bit. But yet, I did inch a little bit closer because I did pick, Tennessee. Jacksonville played tonight. I picked Tennessee to win, and Tennessee did win. It was not, yet again, for Thursday Night Football. Thursday Night Football has been huge disappointment in my mind ever since the inception of every team playing and having a game once a week on Thursday night. Because, you go back to last week, Green Bay, Chicago. Green Bay dominated the second half over Chicago. That was no game. The week before that, Denver, San Diego, yet again another miserable game. And the uniforms don't help either. But I've already discussed about the color rush before. But you look at the upcoming Thursday night games, I think it's not until week 13, if that, is when we actually get a potential, rating spike Thursday night football game. But you look at next week, Atlanta at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, they're not floundering, but they're in the middle. Atlanta, they've lost 2 straight. And we'll see where they are, but they have the lead in the South at the moment. But not that exciting of a game. It might be high flying, but then the week after that, week 10's matchup, Cleveland at Baltimore. That just shouts excitement. Not really. At that point, Cleveland is still probably winless unless somehow they beat the Jets this week, which you never know. You never know, that may happen. I think they play the Jets this week, but you have Baltimore, Cleveland. That's in 2 weeks. In 3 weeks, New Orleans at Carolina. I mean, if this was Carolina of last year and New Orleans from 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, sure, exciting game. But it's lacking that excitement. In 4 weeks, Thanksgiving, we got 3 games. Minnesota at Detroit, Washington at Dallas, and Pittsburgh at Indianapolis. The Minnesota-Detroit game, that could be interesting, but I'm ruling out the Thanksgiving games because Dallas and Detroit always plays on Thanksgiving. And then as of, I don't know, it might be, I don't think it's been 10 years, but it's closing in on that, of the Thursday night Thanksgiving game where they introduced maybe 6 years. But that Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, yeah, if it was Indianapolis of 5 years ago, sure, excitement. No. It's not until week 13 we actually get an exciting, potential great game on Thursday night when we have Dallas at Minnesota. And that's if Dallas is still playing well, they're on this roll, they're, say, 1 loss, and Minnesota comes into town, or Minnesota hosts Dallas. Dallas comes to town, and Minnesota still only has 1 loss. It could be, potential for home field advantage throughout the playoffs on the NFC side. So we'll see how that. We have to wait 5 more weeks for that game, though. So, but Thursday night football, in my mind, I'm sure I said before, and I'll say it again, it's a joke. The only reason why we have Thursday night football is because the NFL wants money. They want lots and lots of money, and they say, hey, this makes money, and now they branch out. Like tonight's game was only on was only aired on NFL Network. It wasn't even live stream. It wasn't through Twitter. It wasn't corresponding with CBS. And I think this year they also correspond with NBC for the later half games. I don't know when that starts. That might be next week. But you have that corresponding, we'll simulcast on CBS and NBC for half the seasons, and people still don't watch because they're not exciting games, usually divisional games. They're lackluster, one-sided. I mean, I think 3-4 years ago, you had Thursday night games. They were all blowouts, not even close. They were jokes, and then, yeah, sure, it was a closer game at the end, but that's because that was garbage time, and the winning team had 3rd, 4th string players out there trying to eat up the clock. And it's like, I love my football. Sure, I'll tune in because I love watching football, and that's all they need, I guess. Just that little bit. It's like, hey, you watched. But I wouldn't be heartbroken if they got rid of Thursday night games, if they only kept it a Thanksgiving, season openers, like that. Wouldn't hurt or remind me. But anyways, speaking of another thing I did not like, the ending to the Seattle-Arizona game this past week. If you told me that both teams, if you told me that one team was going to score 6 points, I would have said, would have lost. If you told me they were both going to 6 points and the game was going to end a tie, and the kickers were going to miss 26 or so yard field goals, chip shot field goals, I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't have taken that bet. But what ridiculous of a game was Arizona and Seattle. I mean, Seattle did not get first down until like midway through the third quarter, if that. And I mean, they got 2 good blocks, great blocks in regulation, but it just looked like it was one of those games like whoever scored the most was going to win. Well, no one was scoring, and then once the game ended up tied at the regulation, and it's like you both marched down the field, you both kicked field goals to continue overtime. There's one thing I don't like about overtime. Like, I had no issues with the overtime rules before they decided to tinker with them with the, oh, hey, if you kick a field goal, first possession, you kick a field goal, the other team gets a shot. But if you score a touchdown, game over. And it's like, if you're going to do that, give the other team one other shot. I mean, there's no really good way to solve NFL overtime rules. And do I really like ties in the NFL? No. They're semi-confusing. Because, and the thing is, last year, there were no ties in the NFL. Thank the Lord Almighty. Because the last 3 years, 4 years prior, there were at least one tie game. I mean, there was almost, yeah, since 2012, there's been 4 tie games in the NFL. But since the creation of overtime in the NFL, overtime did not exist prior to, was it 1974? Yes. 1974, overtime was added to the NFL. And there have been 21 tie games since the creation of overtime. And it amazes me. Since 97, since 1997, about 20 years ago, we've had 8 games ending in overtime. Which puzzles, this is amazing. And in 97, there were 2 overtime games. Prior to 1997, the last time there was an overtime game that ended in a tie was 1989. In 97, a week apart, there were 4 games, 4 teams that had a tie. But then we didn't see another tie for 5 years. 2002 was the next time we had a tie. Which is fine. That's 5 years apart. That's fine. Ties in NFL are supposed to be rare, and I mean, it's part of the game. It's part of the lore, whatever tradition. Whatever you want to put. And I still don't like ties in the NFL. But when they're far and few apart, that's fine. I mean, from 97 to 2002, that was 5 years. Roughly 5 years to date. And then you didn't have another one until 2008, the infamous Cincinnati-Philadelphia game where Donovan McNabb didn't realize that games could end in a tie. And it's like, you've been in the league how long and you didn't realize games end in a tie? I know if it was the playoffs, sure, you have to keep playing because you need a winner. But you had a 4-year span then, from 2008 to 2012, almost to the date. And it's like, okay, it was 6 years, now it's 4 years. But the thing was, 2012, there was a tie. There was almost 2 ties between the two same teams in 2012, the San Francisco 49ers and the St. Louis Rams. When they played each other, their first game ended in a tie. Their second game almost ended in a tie, but I think the Rams pulled out the win. And that was ridiculous. And then most of these ties take place in November and lately in October. But then you had the 2013 Green Bay, Minnesota. And they were the first game where both teams went down, scored field goals on their opening possession to keep the game going. And then the game, ended. They kept playing and they couldn't, no one else could score again. It was a 23-23 game going into overtime. Then Green Bay scored, then Minnesota scored field goals, and then game ran out. So this just shows, even under the new rules of scoring a field goal, could still lead to overtime, still lead to a tie.
It's a 4-yard pickup there, and it leaves him with 35.
And irony there, since 1974, that was Green Bay's 5th tie and the most since 1974. But they didn't have a tie since 1987. Then in 2014, Cincinnati, Carolina, they tied. And then 2015, thank you, no tie games. Every game that went to overtime, we had a winner. Thank you. But that all had to change. We went over 2 years. 2 years without a tie. And then you had the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. It was a very sloppy, very crappy game. And it's the lowest scoring overtime game. 6-6. You had both kickers. Arizona's kicker had a 24-yard attempt. Seattle's had a 28-yarder. And now the 28-yarder by Seattle's Steven Hauschka, that was worse than Arizona's kicker. Because earlier in the night, Seattle blocked the field goal because their player Warden made a great leap over the center, maybe made some contact, and got into the kicker's face and blocked it. But yet, first kick in overtime made it. Second field goal attempt, Ward, whatever his name, he does the same thing. He jumps over the center, but the kicker gets it off. He's on the left hash mark, and he shanks and hits the upright. And of course, then the following drive, it was Seattle who marched down the field. And they're in the middle of the field, perfectly lined up in the middle of the field. Takes the snap, and he shanks it to the left so bad it doesn't even hit the netting behind it that catches the football. And in all honesty, I know we're thinking about player safety, we're thinking of players' health, and with all these rules added and adjustment for overtime, you tell me ties aren't rare. Well, look what has happened in the last 5 years. 4 ties in the last 5 years of the NFL. When, we haven't seen this many since the introduction of overtime. The first tie ever when overtime was introduced was in 1974 when overtime was introduced. Then you had one 76, 78, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 86, 86 twice, 87, 88, and 89. You practically had a tie every year or every other year. But then you had this window of 8 years. 8 years is the longest window without a tie. I would think, come on. It's time to get rid of ties in the NFL. It's time to redo the overtime layout. I'm not saying go straight to the college rules. I'm not saying play a second overtime. Like I said before, I had no issue. You score first, you win. That's like one of the most exciting things when it comes to NHL playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs. Hockey overtime is so exciting because you never know when that next goal is going to come. Now, I don't know what we could do exactly, what I'd be in favor of. I mean, I do like college rules, but maybe, hey, start at the 50 and you keep going until someone outscores, make some rules. Or hey, like speaking of the NHL, you have a shootout if the 5-minute overtime doesn't work. Maybe, hey, let's put those kickers to the test. Let's put those kickers to the test. They get 3 chances. Or how about not even the kickers? Let's bring out the offensive line. Whoever you want, you get to pick 3 players. No rushing. No people pressuring them. You have a center, a holder, and a kicker.
This is taken at the 3.
And you pick 3 people that aren't the kicker or the punter, and you give them, you put them at the 25 or 15-yard line and see if they can make the field goal. You have that field goal shootout, but it's with non-kickers. There you go. That's what we can do. And that's if we'll play 15 minutes. We play 15 minutes of overtime. We still have time. Then we go to this shootout when it comes to field goals, but with non-kickers. So, but and I will say this, especially if a team scores a touchdown on their first drive, I think the other team should have at least an opportunity of the strike back, of touching the ball just once. Add that into the overtime rules. Add that both teams get to touch the ball at least once. Because if you're going to punish a team that kicks a field goal to take the lead into overtime and give the other team a chance to score a touchdown, why not give the other team to score another touchdown when the first team scores one and then try to go for the win for 2? And that could be part of the thing. You take extra points out and say you have to go for 2 in overtime. I don't know. That's just. I'm getting tired of ties, and I'm glad I wasn't born in '74 and all that to see these ties happen every other year. But like without overtime, I mean, I have no issue then if games end tied, because that's part of the game. That's what made hockey so much fun. Tie games as just an extra wrinkle.
Lucky Whitehead back deep for Dallas.
So that's my little rant on that. But let's take a look. Like I said before, we enter week 8, and for the first time in a while, well, last year we had a handful. We still had at least 2 or 3 teams that were undefeated. At least 2 for sure, I think. But now we enter week 8 in 2016, and we have no teams that are undefeated because the mighty have fallen in Minnesota. Last week, the team that I picked, these Philadelphia Eagles. These Eagles, they just took care of Minnesota, and what happened? Eagles took a lead. Minnesota's offensive line sucked, and they just couldn't fight back. I mean, but what I heard, it was both defenses were just knocking the balls out of each hands. So we But burp. Yes, so Minnesota, they lost. No more undefeated teams.
So 2nd and medium, 2nd and 5 now.
So let's take a look around the NFL at standings and see how
Now they'll throw here out of the gun.
how
And this one complete to
teams
and he's brought down, but not before
look.
they get it across the 20-yard line.
Starting off in the AFC,
1 quarter in the books here on a Thursday
oh, what we
night.
got? We're done. We're done with the first
The score. You're watching the NFL
first quarter here. Oh, a
on
tied
EA
game.
Sports.
Think this will be a good one. We'll see where Philly's really at, and we'll see if Dallas is for real. And I think both these teams are playoff contenders, to be honest, when it's all said and done. The East, after a year of misery, a few years of miseries, I think they've redeemed themselves, in all honesty, because Redskins are still alive, Giants are still alive, so hey. But standings in the NFL. There are.
Here's Elliott, and he got blown up on that play.
Let's see.
At the 20. It's a loss of 2
There are 25 teams. 25 teams with 3 or more wins in the NFL. But there are only let's see. That's 11.
It's already 2nd and 12. The defense hoping to push them back more.
19 teams in the NFL with either non-losing records.
Another carry for the rookie Elliott.
And 11 of those teams are in the NFC. AFC, it's up and down, but going throughout the we're starting in the AFC East as usual. We have nothing but the New England Patriots at top with a 6-1 record, best record in the AFC, followed by the Buffalo Bills at 4-3, Miami at 3-4, and I mean Miami's on a little roll. 2 straight wins thanks to their running back Ajayi Parker, and of course the lonely Jets, who actually won a game. They actually won a game, but they I forget who they played last week, but they won. And that's the funny thing there with the Jets. They decided to make a QB change. They benched Fitzpatrick. They bring in Geno Smith to become their new starter. And what happens? Geno Smith blows out his knee. He's out for the season. And look at this. Who's back? Oh yes, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, the Harvard graduate. He's back under center for the Jets. So I mean, New England, they got a nice comfy lead, but yet they have a big game coming up against the Buffalo Bills, who are still hanging in there in the East. Barely. They host New England this weekend. If they can beat New England, they've New England twice, plus there'll be a game out of first place. So pressure's on the Patriots this weekend. I think it'll be a tough game, tough close game. But I mean, the differences between the first meeting, there was no Tom Brady. Moving on to the AFC West. Surprise, surprise. We have 3 teams with 2 losses, but only 2 teams with 5 wins. The Oakland Raiders are on top of the West. They win again. They improved to 5-2, and they have well, they don't have sole possession. They have a tied possession for the division at the moment. And right behind their tails, keep on winning themselves, are the Denver Broncos. They're still close. They're closing in, and so on and so forth with Oakland. So when these two teams meet, it's going to be interesting. Kansas City is right behind Denver at 4-2. They already had their bye. So, I mean, still only 2 losses. They're right there. They're in the thick of it. So they're just waiting for Denver and Oakland to slip up. Or I think they still need to play each. No, Kansas City already played Oakland, I do believe. So they just need to play. They just need to play Denver twice and Oakland one more time, and if they can get those 3 wins, they'll be on top of the chain. AFC North. This one is still wide open. I mean, Pittsburgh at the moment, coming off 2 straight losses, they still are on top of the AFC North at 4-3. But Baltimore and Cincinnati are right behind them at 3-4 apiece. I mean, it's when it comes down to divisional games, I think, is it Pittsburgh? No, both Steelers and the Ravens have off this week. So, I mean, Cincinnati can climb up half a game. And then you have the worst professional team in the city of Cleveland, the Browns, at 0-7. While the Cavaliers just tipped off their reigning season as champions, or kick off their campaign as defending champions, and the Cleveland Indians are in a tight battle to win their first World Series against the Cubs. So, and then, like I said, you have the Browns at 0-7. I don't know, they're probably on their 12th quarterback or something. Who knows? Who cares? It is what it is. I mean, they haven't done well in the draft. And you never know, maybe maybe in a handful of years, they might win a game. I mean, only one team in NFL history has gone 0-16, and that was the Detroit Lions back in 2008. I mean, I don't know what would happen first, another undefeated, a 16-0 team or an 0-16 team. And I think 0-16 is more more likely to happen next than a 16-0, because we won't have a 16-0 team this year, but a 0-16 we might in Cleveland. And then finally, a miserable, I mean, if you look at the AFC North and AFC South, I mean, it almost looks identical except for the Browns. You have Houston on top of the South at 4-3. Tennessee's win tonight over Jacksonville. They are now 4-4. And just a half game out of the division. Indianapolis is 3-4. And then, like I said, Jacksonville. What has happened to Jacksonville? I mean, a lot of experts, and me, not an expert, but me, opinion included, thought Jacksonville was going to make that next step. Was going to become a better team, and especially in the South. I mean, they're not that far behind first place, so they still have a chance. They still have a shot, a legit shot to make if they win out, they win out, finish 11-5. I mean, that'd be amazing. But who knows? And then, I mean, look at Houston. They lose. They were 4-2. They lose. Brock Osweiler goes back to Denver and just looks like rubbish. And people were having a heyday with that, just making like Osweiler look like garbage. people wearing trash cans with the number 17 on it. It's like he was awful. I was watching part of that game, and he has a good arm. He can launch the ball probably 80 yards down the field, but the thing is, his receiver only went 60. So I don't know what to say. I mean, anyone can win the South, and there's a 3-team race in the North. There's also a 3-team race. I mean, well, San Diego in the West, they're only 2 games behind. They might be the best 3-4 team, 3 and 4 team out there. But
5 yards is the tally on first down. That brings up 2nd and 5.
But and the East, if New England wins this weekend over Buffalo, they're in the driver's seat, and they broke off the rearview mirror, and they're not looking back. But let's move over to the NFC side, and you have this key matchup. This is for first place in the East, because right now Dallas, with their 1 win, they're in the driver's seat. They have won 5 in a row. They started the season 0-1, but now they are 5-1 thanks to Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. Let's be honest. And I mean, they're the big ones, but the people that need the most credit is that offensive line, and that's why that's happening. Why Elliott's able to run for 150 yards a game. Why Prescott has time in the pocket to throw the ball. Is because of that offensive line. But Dallas in first place in the East at 5-1. Philadelphia right behind them. They got back on their winning ways after losing 2 in a row. They're 4-2. But Washington and New York, they're right behind them, knocking on they're standing the doorstep, knocking on the door, waiting for these 2 teams to fill up. Because if Philly wins on Sunday, Washington and New York win, I think they're both playing. No, Giants have off because that's right, they were in London. But I mean, if they win, they're just 1 game out of it. It all comes down to divisional games, and you have 6 games within the division, so every game matters. East is finally looking decent. Last few years, it's like, who wants to win? Who wants to win the East? Then the NFC West. Thanks to Arizona and Seattle. Thanks to those 2 teams, we have ties. Seattle is in first place at the moment at 4-1-1. Ironically, they are 1-1-1 within their division. And we'll see when they take on Arizona at home. I think sometime in December. But Arizona, this is where the tie is beneficial. They are 3-1, and because they have 1 less loss, they have the same number of wins as Los Angeles, who's 3-4. But since they have 1 less loss, they're ahead of them because they have 1 less loss. Now, if they were it's usually when they have the same number of wins, the tiebreaker goes to the team with the tie. Now, if they have the same number of losses, then the tie loses. And then you have the San Francisco 49ers, 1-6. They started the season with a huge shutout win over Los Angeles. They thought the Chip Kelly era is here. We're ready. We're on a roll. And then lose 6 in a row. What a disappointment. Not saying there wasn't really, I mean, ever since Jim Harbaugh. I'm going to hate myself if I get that right or wrong. Harbaugh. I mean, a little disappointed. I mean, all he was doing there was he was winning. He was doing a great job there, and then he went to the NFC Championship game his first 3 years in San Francisco. They went to the Super Bowl his second year. All honesty, he could have taken them to 3 straight Super Bowls. He could be a 3-time. They could have won all 3 Super Bowls, to be all honest. They should have beaten the New York Giants in that NFC Championship game back in 2011. They should have beaten them, but their punt returner had 2 muffed punts, and I think they could have beaten New England. Then they finally made it. They played Baltimore, but they had Colin Kaepernick under center. And then the following year, they take on Seattle in the championship game, and like I said, Kaepernick under center, and Richard Sherman gets the big play of the game.
On second down, here's Wentz. This complete
And then their fourth season.
And Carr seems to be in some pain. He's still down.
It went downhill from there because the people on top did not like Harbaugh. Ball didn't like his khaki pants or whatever, and he wanted to go to University of Michigan anyways. University of Michigan, go to his alma mater, coach college, and now he's doing great there. Good for him, but I mean, I think he should still be in San Francisco right now. But I mean, some people just love the college levels, and some people love the professional levels. So, but then we move on to the NFC North. Like I said, the Vikings, they suffered their first loss this past week against the Eagles. They're at 5-1. Right behind them, it's more like 2 games instead of 1. The Green Bay Packers at 4-2. The only reason why I say it's more like 2 games instead of 1 because they have the head-to-head tiebreaker. Even if Minnesota loses and Green Bay wins, Minnesota would still be ahead of Green Bay. But you got then Detroit at 4-3, and at least they have a win. But they get their quarterback this Monday. They get their starting at his 100th game, Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler's back for the Bears, and the Bears are 1-6. I mean, it was sad to hear what happened to Brian Hoyer. He was doing great in the filling-in for Jay Cutler, and to be honest, I think they would have stayed with Brian Hoyer instead of bringing Cutler back, but you know, Hoyer gets his arm broken by the Packers, and they have to go back to Jay Cutler. And that seems to be a theme in recent years. You have a starter who's struggling, and you really don't have an excuse to bench him or take him out. And then say an injury happens, say finally they got fed up with a poor performance or something, and you say, hey, let's put in the backup. Like Geno Smith in for Ryan Fitzpatrick, Brian Hoyer for Jay Cutler. But then they get hurt. The backup gets hurt. Brian Hoyer breaks his arm. Geno tears his ACL, and it's like, frick, we have to bring back our starters. But then you have, say, like the Dallas situation here. Tony Romo out for the entire season practically last year. They finally drafted a quarterback in Dak Prescott. They weren't even going to think about using Dak Prescott because they had other backups, and not Matt Moore, Kyle Moore, whatever his name was, he hurt himself. They had to get another backup. But Romo was still recovering, and then he gets hurt in preseason. And here comes Dak Prescott, who looked great in the first 2 preseason games. It looks awesome. And it's like, no. Tony Romo is still our starting quarterback. Because you don't lose your starting position to injury, which is bull crap, and we all know that. Because sometimes that's also another excuse to get somebody in you want, but you just can't because your starter's doing great and good. But will the Cowboys go back to Tony Romo? I think not. I think, in all honesty, I think Romo may be done. He might stick around with Dallas. He might get released. But his days as starting quarterback are over, and the era of Dak Prescott is here. But anyways, back to standings. Yeah, that's Chicago for you. And then finally in the NFC South, Atlanta.
And the 8th play on this drive coming up.
This division's now tightening up just a little bit, even for the last place team. But Atlanta is 4-3. They suffered 2 losses, 2 close games. And then at 4-3, Tampa Bay is right behind it. Hot Atlanta at 3-3. New Orleans is 2-4, and the Cam Newton and 5 Carolina Panthers, the 1-5 Panthers, bring up the rear. I mean, thankfully they couldn't embarrass themselves this past week, because they had a bye. But I mean, with Atlanta losing 2 straight, they're just 2 games behind Atlanta, like 2.5. But still close game, close division. That can go either way now down the stretch. It's all those divisional games that will matter, because those head-to-head will be biggies. Well, there you go. Touchdown Philly. They take the lead. But if the regular season would end today, here are AFC. Here are the projections. In the AFC, New England has the number 1 seed overall at 6-1. Oakland still surprises me. Like, I expect Oakland to do well. I didn't have them make the playoffs. I thought they would have a winning record, but not quite edge out of the team. But at the moment, they would be the second best team in the AFC, and they would have that first round bye. And the winners of the AFC West, New England winners of the East. Then you would have Pittsburgh, winners of the North at the 3rd seed, and the Texans, winners of the South at the 4th seed. And your 5th and 6th seeds would be Denver and Kansas City. Denver would head to Houston, and Kansas City would head to Pittsburgh for that wild card weekend. So, I mean, looking at that, the only really big surprise, if that, would be Oakland. But teams knocking on the door are Buffalo, and I would say Buffalo. Wow. Buffalo would be 7th, and Baltimore would be 8th. But like Baltimore, Cincinnati, that'd be more for a division. Bills would be looking for a wild card. Miami, they would be 10th seed. They're looking for a playoff spot. And like the Colts, they're looking at more like a division. So it'll be interesting how the remaining 10 weeks of the NFL season goes. Ooh. Oh, down goes Prescott. But on the flip side, NFC side, since this is interesting, I didn't realize this, but since Minnesota's lost, Dallas. Dallas is now the number one seed.
The offense takes a timeout, and now we're set to get going.
In the NFC, while Minnesota drops the number 2 seed overall. Cowboys would be the winners of the East. Vikings winners of the North. While the Seahawks at 4-1-1. I'm never going to like that extra one. They would win the West, and they would be 3rd seed, while the Falcons would be the 4th seed and the winners of the South. While the Packers would be the 5th seed, and the Eagles would be the 6th seed. So, I mean, right now, both Dallas and Philly, they're sitting pretty comfortable, even after what may happen this Sunday between the two teams. They're both looking at the playoffs, but right behind, I mean, Philly is 4-2. You have Detroit at 4-3, Washington at 4-3, Giants at 4-3, New York Giants at 4-3, the Cardinals 3-1. And Tampa Bay at 3-3, they're all looking at that 6th seed at the moment. I mean, it's still, we're at least a good 4 or 5 weeks away from who's in, who's out for sure, who's fighting, who's going to be digging in the trenches to get that wild card berth and so forth. But looking at the teams that would be in the playoffs, not real big shockers there. I mean, except for maybe Philadelphia. I mean, I did pick Dallas to win the East. Philly, I thought, for some reason, I thought they would just be rebuilding. They would fall, but there's still plenty of time to be played. So it would be an interesting matchup on what the playoffs would be if they were today. So one other thing before I get to teams on buys and teams that the schedule for who plays who this week. Power rankings. I think I started talking about them last week, but like power rankings, I mean, are just a big old joke. Since Minnesota lost, who becomes number 1 on the NFL site? New England. New England becomes the top ranked team, followed by Minnesota, followed by I don't know who else, but let's quickly look at I want quickly look.
Has it left side. Call it a gain of 3.
I mean, I knew New England's number 1, then Minnesota, Dallas, Seattle, Denver would be your top 5. Bottom 5. Cleveland, Chicago, San Francisco, Jacksonville, and Carolina. That doesn't surprise me. But if I had to pick my top 5 teams right now, as of now, I mean, I would agree that New England right now is a top 5 team that doesn't look like anything will change a lot with them, that they'll take care of the ball, so forth and so on. Minnesota is right there too. But the thing is with Minnesota though, right now they're a top 5 team base. I would put Dallas ahead of Minnesota. So number 1 I would have New England. Number 2 would be Dallas. I mean, Dallas is just coming off their bye. They've won 5 in a row. And even their loss against New York, the football Giants, it wasn't that horrible. I mean, it's just poor clock management, and I'll keep saying that till the end of the season. But then I would put Minnesota at number 3 because their offensive line. Offensively, they're only good when their defense gives them the lead. If they don't have that lead, their offense crumbles. Their offensive line is weak. That's what Philly exposed this past Sunday. And instead of going for sacks, they were going for strips, and they were trying to take Minnesota apart. And even when Minnesota took the early lead, what did Philly do? They took the ball back for a touchdown, kickoff return for a touchdown. So this Philly just might have exposed how to beat Minnesota, but I think Minnesota still will have an easy way down the road. Ooh. That's short.
target to the left, didn't get there anyway. It's no good, and this score will stay right where it is.
Between
That's the
now,
risk of the long field goal miss here at this stage of the second quarter. You give up great field position.
I mean, yes, Seattle's 4-1-1. I don't know if I would put them in the top 5. They'd be close in my top 5 because, especially, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Divisional games, they always throw a wrench in the socket, in the whatever. But that was an awful game. They barely were able to move the ball. They never got a first down until late in the second half. And I mean, Russell Wilson is injured and wounded. You would think Arizona would have blitz, gone after Russell Wilson. No, they didn't. And I mean, Arizona should have won that game in my mind. But I'll throw I don't know. I keep Seattle at top 5. To be honest, I throw Oakland in there at 5-2 as a top 5 team. I mean, they came back, they won. I think people don't really expect them to do well. Hey, to be honest, they might surprise a lot of people and they just might represent the AFC. And Denver, I don't know, but I'll put Denver. I'll go. You know what? I'll go New England, Dallas, Minnesota, Oakland, Denver for my top 5. Then maybe Seattle, Green Bay for 6 and 7. But anyways, those top 5 picks. Take a quick little break. Keep watching these highlights, and then I'll come back on the games for Week 8 and my picks and so forth.
Wentz is on target here, and that connection will lead to a gain of 19 yards. Eagles, though, would come away empty-handed on the drive. That'll do it from here in Orlando. Let's get you back out to Dallas as we hand things over to Brandon Gaudin.
So both teams have their marching orders, and we'll get going again here in quarter number 3. This is fielded at the goal line. And he'll take it past the 25 and up to the 28-yard line. Second half starts with a carry by Elliott. And down he goes, but he takes it up to the 40. They pick up 12 on the play there, and they move the chains.
The more football I watch, the more I want to check and see if teams are going to panic when they're down on the scoreboard. And this team has shown no signs of doing that. A lot of the time, they come out after the half. Things haven't worked so well in the first go-around. They want to throw the football like crazy. But the way to open up is to run it, and they've run it well here to start the second half.
Come on, let's go. Now on first down, he'll drop to throw it. Now he'll dump it underneath to his running back, complete. Give him 11 on the gain there, and that leads to a Dallas first down.
Good route, good pickup for first down yardage, and that is a tough one to cover. The angle
Okay, and I'm back.
Getting out of the backfield,
So,
Trying to cover that, especially if you're in the
Week
linebacker
8,
spot, and
we
you're
got
seeing this play develop.
ourselves
He is out
13
towards the flat
games. 6
first,
teams
and that often gets
have
you
a
to
bye.
overcommit running in that direction. Then he cuts back up inside you
And
into the middle of the field.
Finally, I'm closing in on a winning record. I am currently I'm 53 and 54 because of tonight's game, which I'm sure I mentioned before. I did pick correctly. Otherwise, I'm 52 and 54. Last week, I went 10, 4, and 1.
And often the physicality sets the tempo for the game.
Because that dang push. And of course, the 4 games I got wrong, 4 games I got wrong were close ones. I had Washington over Detroit. Detroit wins. I picked Tennessee over Indianapolis. Indianapolis wins. I picked Baltimore over the Jets. Jets win. And of course, and then I had Atlanta over San Diego. San Diego wins. So, and those were all close games because of how they were playing against each other. And I picked Arizona over Seattle. No, that game ends in a tie. So, U is the thing. So right now I'm currently 52 and 54. Well, 53 and 54 because of Thursday night's game, but I'll get to that in a second. So we have 6 teams on byes. Well, the remaining 26 teams play. The 6 teams that have byes this week are the Baltimore Ravens, the Los Angeles Rams, the Miami Dolphins, the New York Football Giants, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and those lonely, poor San Francisco 49ers. And so we don't have to hear if Colin Kaepernick took a knee or not. But anyways, best of luck for those 6 teams for getting healthy and so on and so forth. But we started Week 8 on Thursday Night Football with Jacksonville at Tennessee. Then our final London matchup of the year, but not the final international game. We have Washington at Cincinnati in merry old England. Then we have New England at Buffalo. The New York Jets taking on the Cleveland Browns. Kansas City versus Indianapolis. Seattle at New Orleans. Oakland at Tampa Bay. Arizona at Carolina. Detroit at Houston. San Diego at Denver. Green Bay at Atlanta. Your Sunday night game, which we'll see if Madden can correctly predict right this time. Go around. Philadelphia at Dallas. And our Monday night game on All Hallows Eve. The Minnesota versus Chicago. So we have some decent matchups this week. Nothing really eye-popping. I mean, I say, top 3 games. This one right here. I actually would say New England versus Buffalo. That would be a good one. We'll see if Buffalo can take New England to the limit once again and beat them.
And then you have to have a good guy carrying the ball too, right?
But my third game of the week, Green Bay at Atlanta, because this would be huge in playoff applications.
It's good, and they'll take a 17-14
But
lead.
Thursday Night Football came and went, and it was a one-sided affair with Tennessee beating Jacksonville 36-22. I mean, yes, that final score really doesn't make adjust. I mean, Jacksonville scored 14 points in the 4th, but before it was 27-0 at halftime, Tennessee. And it's like, what has happened to Jacksonville? A team that people really thought could make a move in the South, climb up that division. Nope, nada. They suck. They stink. And most likely won't go anywhere this year. Just huge disappointment. Maybe time to fire their head coach, go new direction, but don't know. Don't know.
And he'll bring it a
We'll
few
see.
past the 20 to
So
the
let's go
23-yard line.
to our next game. Washington at Cincinnati across the pond. This is a tough one. Washington has been playing great. I shouldn't say great. Washington is playing decent. They have won a handful of games. They started the season with 2 losses. They win 4 in a row and then finally lose again. While Cincinnati, they're 3-4. They've mainly only beaten teams with losing records. They haven't beaten teams with winning records, I don't think, with the current standings right now. Because they've lost to Denver. Denver has a winning record. They lost to Dallas. They have a winning record. They lost to New England. They have a winning record. Miami at the moment, they have a losing record at 3-4. And Cleveland, they have a losing record. Oh, I hate you, Yahoo. And they beat the Jets. They have a losing record. So in that aspect, they can beat. Well, I mean, okay, they beat Miami. They have Okay, and they beat the Jets. That's their 3 wins. Their 4 losses. Oh, stupid. Wait. Okay. Back up. Cincinnati's 3-4. Yeah. Oh.
Here's Donnie Jones now as he's on to punt.
Just click on this. And they lost to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has a winning record. There we go. They beat the Jets, they beat Miami, and they beat Cleveland. Those 3 teams all have losing records. They beat them. But Pittsburgh, Denver, Dallas, and New England, I mean, going against those 4 teams, I mean, playoff teams from a year ago, except for Dallas, but they lose to them. So they get Washington. I mean, I think at the moment I'm picking Cincinnati, but you know what? Oh, I don't know. This is, in my opinion, I feel like this could go either way. If Cleveland is at their best, Cleveland. Woo! If Cincinnati's at their best, if they show up to play, they will beat Washington. But if Washington shows up, they barely lost to Detroit. And to be honest, I think Washington is one of the top teams, especially in the NFC. I think I'll stick with Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati finally gets back on track. They get focused. They get ready to go, make their run for the playoffs right now, so they can lose yet again another playoff game in their first game of the playoffs. So Cincinnati is my pick. Don't disappoint me. Don't let me down, Cincinnati. I want to be at 54-54 by the time noon rolls around Central Time. But next game, New England at Buffalo. I mean, what a difference Tom Brady has made. Not much, really, to be all honest. I mean, their only loss so far has come to the hands of Buffalo in New England via shutout. Now the Bills are home. They're a few games behind New England, but if they win, they have the 2-game tiebreaker because they beat them twice. They beat them head-to-head twice. New England, Mr. October Tom Brady, he's ready to play. He's not here to fool around, so on and so forth. And if anything, they're going to return the favor. They might shut out Buffalo. But this might be Buffalo's year that they make a little hedgeway, make that little hedgeway to the playoffs and keep Rex Ryan's job alive, but not this week. New England, they get the last laugh. They beat Buffalo. The New York Jets at Cleveland. You know, if Cleveland has a shot to win a game this year, this might be it. This might be their game that out of nowhere I mean, it's trying to see what Cleveland's remaining schedule looks like. I mean, this one is plausible. It's plausible for Cleveland to win. Mainly because of how the Jets are playing. But if Ryan Fitzpatrick shows up, hey. Oh, this is ironic. Just looking at the Browns schedule, if you include the preseason, they didn't win a game in the preseason, and they haven't won one so far. The closest game so far for the Browns was the Tennessee game where they lost by 2. But they host the Jets this week. That might be a win. They might sneak out a win. But Dallas in 2 weeks? I don't think so. Baltimore at Baltimore. That might be another close one because how Baltimore is up and down. Pittsburgh, no. Especially at Pittsburgh, no. The New York Giants, who knows? Then they get their bye. I think they're one of the last teams to have a bye, especially the first week in December. But then you have Cincinnati, Buffalo, San Diego, Pittsburgh. I mean, the other Baltimore game, the Cincy game and San Diego maybe, but it's tough to see where the Browns may win. And all honesty, they don't win this weekend. New York, the Jets win. Not convincingly, but comfortably. Retreat kick to extend their lead. Ooh, we have a close one here going on, just a 6-point difference. Kansas City at Indianapolis. Indy. What is that? 2? No, not 2. Like 3 years ago, Indianapolis had the largest comeback in playoff history. Second largest one or whatever. Beating Kansas City. What a disappointment in Kansas City. But Indianapolis, they have their highs and lows like most teams. But they're not consistent. They're inconsistent. And that's one reason why they're not going to make the playoffs. Is their inconsistency. They need to protect Andrew Luck more. But since they play in the AFC South, AFC South is a very crummy division and it's going to be difficult to win games outside the South, divisional games. Kansas City, they got to keep pace. They got to keep pace with Denver, and they got to keep pace with Oakland. They beat Oakland, I think, a few weeks ago, but they got to keep pace. They have to keep pace with both those teams if they want to have a chance of making the playoffs. Right now, they would be in the playoffs, but they want that division title. And in this game, it may be on the road, but I like Kansas City. They come into Indianapolis. They take care of business. That defense, they get all over. They get all over Andrew Luck. They maybe force a couple turnovers, and they're sitting pretty.
See if they stay on the ground for second down.
Now, this is a tough one. This is a toughie, just like the Washington-Cincinnati game and like the New York Jets and Cleveland game. This is a toughie. Seattle at New Orleans. Seattle may be 4-1-1.
And he's going to be out of bounds, but able to take it inside the
40-yard
line. Great patience.
It's at New Orleans.
Of course, It's easy to be patient when the
And
protection's good, and it
I
was.
mean,
Yeah, you've gotta
when you
have
play
those
divisional
guys in the helmet
foes
and say,
like
"Guys,"
Seattle did
because
against
they
Arizona,
gave him plenty
you're
of
always
time to
troubling.
stay back there, survey the field,
You always
look for the
have
reads that
issues.
he wanted
You always
to, and
have
deliver
that
the
hard
ball
time.
accurately.
But when you
That
play
was really
different,
well executed.
not uncommon opponents,
So after that big play, let's see if they can catch their
But-
defense maybe on their heels.
conference opponents, put it that way, yeah. I mean, New Orleans,
First down.
they were on a 2-game win streak. They lost to Kansas City in a close
And
one.
here he'll be brought down a little shy of the 35 at the 36.
Seattle,
Three on the play.
they started with a win.
Second down.
I know most of the time when the
They
ball's
started
in
with
the
a
air,
win,
you're
then they
thinking wide
lost.
receiver, tight end, but running backs,
Then they
they're a
won,
big
one,
part of any
one,
passing offense
tied.
nowadays.
They were on a 3-game win streak. They tied. But yet you look, they beat San Francisco. They beat the Jets. Ooh. But then they played Atlanta. Atlanta came roaring back. They were up by, they were winning 23-7 or something like that, and Atlanta came right back. They take the lead. Atlanta only lost because Seattle made a field goal at the end, and they were at home. Let's put it that way.
Second down. Ertz over the
So
middle. And he'll work it inside the 30
they go.
to
Then the following week they go to
20
Arizona, only
line.
mustered
It's an
6
8-yard
points,
pickup and leads
and the
to
game
a
ends at a
7
tie.
downs. And
I
that's one of
mean,
his advantages of a passing
Seattle
down. His
is
height, setting back there in the pocket, firing it over
is
the
what
middle. He can
14th in the
really see
rush
everything
or passing
clearly.
game, 27 in the rush, and 22 in total yards.
Get it done different
While
ways, all right?
New
You
Orleans
have
on the
to
other
be
side is
his
first in
height to
passing,
make a good
28th in the
play.
rush, and
But
second
what he
total
does
yards.
is he takes away
And
having to
since
make those
since
slide steps
they
in the
are the
pocket,
home team, New Orleans is the home team.
to throw the ball through. He just
I
goes
think
over the top
I
of
think
it
they can get
because he
to
can see
Russell Wilson.
everything. And
They
sometimes
get
it
to
saves
him,
time
they
to get the
pressure
ball
him,
to a
they
receiver
actually
quicker.
go after him, and they get the win. New Orleans gets the win. Seattle drops down. I'm only going with New Orleans mainly because they are the home team, and Wilson's
9 yards still
Wilson's
remaining here
hurt.
to
Let's
pick
be
up the
honest.
first
He's hurt.
on
He's
second
hobbling.
down.
He's not as healthy because otherwise he'd be running that ball when available. But we move on. Like I said, New Orleans.
Throw on second down.
Oh, excuse me.
Comes out on the hit, but they'll say it's incomplete.
Next game,
He was trying to get
Oakland
that
at
one
Tampa
to
Bay.
Darren Sproles.
This will be an
Third
interesting
down
one.
here.
When defenses get to the quarterback that quickly, a lot of
Tampa
times
Bay,
it's called a
I'm not
jailbreak.
sure
It wasn't quite
where
that
they're at.
fast, but
Oakland,
fast enough that he had no time
2
to get
losses,
downfield
and the
and
game's
set
at
himself
noon.
to throw the ball. And as he
And
tried to do that,
Oakland's
he
been
was able to
defying
force an
odds.
incompletion.
And
They've been
defensively,
going
it's a nickel
to the
formation.
Central Time
On
Zone.
third down.
West Coast team, I might add. They go West Coast team going to the Central Time Zone. They go to the Eastern Time Zone, and just defying odds and winning games at noon local time, 1 o'clock local
I kinda
that
chuckled
time,
myself a
and
little
be
bit
like
when I remember Darren Sproles coming out
what
of
10 o'clock on
college.
the
I remember
on the
one
West Coast. So
saying, "Yeah, but what are you gonna do with him in the
Bye's
pass
adjusting,
game? Quarterback
you know,
can't
taking
find
time
him
to adjust.
downfield because he's only 5'6".
But yet they've only had 2
On that
losses so
screen pass, he
far,
found him pretty
and I think
well.
they've been
And his
both at
balance
home,
is unsurpassed. He's so strong, he
which
can
is
take hits and stay on his
ironic.
feet.
But you look at Oakland. I mean, they beat
Offense
New
walks to the
Orleans
line for play number
in
7
New Orleans.
of the
That was a
drive.
noon start time, local time. They beat Tennessee. Yet again, that's noon
Let's get
noon
the
o'clock
call.
game. They beat Baltimore. I don't know if that was a noon game, but I'm sure. Whatever. They beat San Diego. That was a home game. That's West Coast. They beat Kansas City. Or they lost to Kansas City. That's a West Coast game. Blah blah. They beat Jacksonville. That's East Coast. That's East Coast. 1 o'clock. East Coast. Eastern time. 1 o'clock Central. So, and now they go back. They go back to Tampa Bay. They went to Jacksonville. Now they're back. They go to Tampa Bay.
And it's first and goal now, but still 10 yards
And
to go.
I like Oakland in this game. I just don't see.
At the line of scrimmage.
I mean, you look at Tampa Bay. They beat Atlanta. They went to Atlanta, beat them week 1, then lost 3 straight against Arizona, Los Angeles, and Denver. Then they take on Carolina, and what happens? They win. Get their bye. Take on San Francisco. They beat them. What surprise there? But Oakland is not San Francisco. Oakland's not Carolina, and Oakland is not Atlanta. Okay. Oakland has the more power of Arizona, maybe not the power of LA, but of Denver. So I think Oakland will defy odds once again and win on the East Coast once again for a West Coast team on at noon. Oakland wins. It's going to be I think it might be a high-scoring game. It might come down to the end, just like how Oakland and New Orleans did in Week 1. But this game still could go either way, but I like Oakland for sure. Arizona at Carolina. The game Arizona's been waiting since the end of the NFC Championship game where they got humiliated against the hands of Cam Newton and company. Now things have been reversed. Carolina only has one win and is at the bottom of the barrel. Arizona, they're in the middle of the pack. They're close to a playoff, of making the playoffs. With that tie in there, that helps them, but yet hurts them. Only helps if they just win. But what has happened to the Carolina Panthers? They start the season in a Super Bowl rematch. They lose to Denver because of a missed field goal, but they bounce back. They took on San Francisco and won. But then they lost to Minnesota, they lost to Atlanta, lost to Tampa Bay, and they lost to New Orleans. 3 straight divisional games. They lost 3 straight divisional games. So they're behind in the division by 3 games already. They have 3 divisional games left. And they play 2 of those at the end of the season. Carolina has a long way to go to climb out of there. And I mean, maybe they made it up in their bye and maybe not. I mean, this is a noon game, so Arizona, they don't believe in daylight savings anyway, so it's like 2-hour difference. I mean, let's see. I know the Buffalo game, I think that was a noon one. They got rattled. They were at Buffalo, but I think the Jets game was a noon game, but they took care of business there, so it doesn't matter in my opinion. I think Arizona's a better team. I think Arizona they bounce back from this tie, and I think they give. I think David Johnson runs wild on Carolina, and Carolina goes from 1-5 to 1-6, or I should say from Cam and 5 to Newton and 6 or whatever. Carolina, I don't know what has happened to them. I really thought they got their receiver back. I don't know what offseason adjustments they really did, but it's just a huge surprise that they're not playing the easiest schedule like they did last year. I mean, they're playing the AFC East. They're playing the AFC West and NFC West. And, I mean, they're not the easiest teams to beat either. So, I think this might be one of the worst seasons. I'm sure Carolina can win a few more somewhere down the road, but against when and against who knows. But I mean, Carolina gets to play Oakland later. That's but I gotta pick Carolina. Carolina loses. Arizona gets their redemption. They get their rematch. They get happy. They're excited. They get their revenge over the NFC Championship game. But it's still going to be a close one. Detroit at Houston. This is another tough one to pick. And it's usually in those tough ones, I feel like I lose. Those tough ones, I lose, but Detroit, they just know how to lose. It seems like more like than they know how to win. Detroit knows how to lose. Houston, this is going. I think this is actually going to be a good game. I think Brock Osweiler bounces back. He has a better game than he did against Monday night. I mean, he was on the road. He's home. He's back at home, where the crowd can boo and throw garbage at him. While Detroit, I think Detroit. I like Detroit in this one. In all honesty. Detroit, for the last 5 years or so, they've been a good team. They've had the right personnel. I mean, Matthew Stafford, I don't think he'll ever win a Super Bowl, but I do think he is a Hall of Fame worthy quarterback, caliber quarterback. I mean, winning a Super Bowl wouldn't hurt, but in all honesty, I don't think if he stays with Detroit, and I think I think he would for the most part, but I just don't see that. It'd be hard for Detroit, in all honesty, but I like Detroit in this game. Houston, disappointment. I think I've said before, once or twice before, that them losing J.J. Watt for the year, that really hurts on their defense. Clowney's finally healthy when he wants to be, but they have great receivers in Hopkins, and was it Fuller, I think. But Osweiler's got an arm. Osweiler's got a rocket for an arm. It's ridiculous watching how often he overthrows his receivers. But I like Detroit in this game. Detroit's more of a whole team. They have everything, like the balance or whatever. So Detroit, I say in a close game, maybe 6-point difference, but Detroit somehow they win. We move to the late afternoon games. Start with San Diego at Denver. San Diego, they're 2 weeks removed from just playing Denver in San Diego. And I always hate this when divisional teams, they play 1 week, play someone else, and then they play each other again 2 weeks apart or 3 weeks apart. It's like, you have 16 games. You play the same teams twice. Can't you spread that out some? San Diego's a pretty good team, but they won't be good enough against Denver. Denver lost C.J. Anderson for the year because bruising in his arm, shoulder. Gotta see if Philly can actually make this field goal real quick, and I'll continue. Short. But that hurts their running game a little bit, but Trevor Siemian has been amazing. I think better than expected. Their defense is doing wonderful. That's why Denver is our Super Bowl champions and defending Super Bowl champions. And San Diego, they're a good team. Divisional game, this could go either way. I've said it once, I'll say it again. When it comes to a divisional game, it could go either way. It's hard to predict those. Those are always close. But since Denver's the home team, coming off a big Monday night game, wow, just what happened in the game. Hey, Des Bryant might be back. I think Denver's going to go in. They're going to win. They take care of San Diego, at least by double digits. Green Bay at Atlanta. Game was originally scheduled for noon. They flexed that to 3:25. Oh, I could talk about this game for I don't know how long, just because. Go Pack, go. Green Bay, they're hurt. 10 days to rest. They won't have their main cornerbacks. They won't have their starting cornerbacks. and against the best receiver probably in their. I'm going with best receiver in the NFL at Julio Jones. Sorry, Antonio Brown. I only give Julio Jones the credit out because he doesn't act like a douche when he scores. But it's going to be hard for Green Bay to cover Julio. They're going to need two people. They're going to need that safety down deep. Actually, if Matt Ryan decides to fling it up. If he just flings it up on every play, then yeah, it's going to be tough. But Atlanta's hurting at running back position. Sounds like Trevor Coleman, he's not going to play, hamstring. Devontae Freeman, it sounds like he'll be healthy enough to play, but it's going to be, I think they're not having their two-headed duo in the backfield at either at true running backs or catching running backs. It's going to be tough to move the ball. And there's a reason why they've lost two in a row, or lost 2 games prior to this last win. No, they've lost 2 in a row. But they are the highest scoring team in the NFL, I think, right now. Green Bay on the flip side. Oh, Aaron Rodgers finally threw over 300 yards for the first time this year, and like for half a century it seemed like everyone was shouting about. Devontae Adams had a career game. Hopefully they'll have at least 2 healthy running backs come Sunday at Don Jackson, the rookie free agent signee from the practice squad, and Niall Davis. Hopefully he knows the playbook just a little bit more. But I wouldn't count out Ty Montgomery maybe in the backfield for a few plays, but I don't know if they will actually give him the rock like they had to do in the second half of last week, or if they're just going to do the little dips and the dips and dunks or whatever. And for the most part, that's the Packers running game right there, is that Rodgers gets the ball, not even 5 seconds, maybe 3 seconds later, he throws it, crisscross. That's the only way the Packers will have success, is dipping and dabbing there, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, if you let Rodgers stay in the pocket longer, 5 minutes, 10 seconds, 12 seconds, and his receivers are covered up, he's flustered. And he doesn't want playing with the ball. He wants to throw it first. But I say he should run it more. He should try to throw it in there, or throw it away. Maybe not throw it in there, but throw it away. Where's that safety valve? So, but I know Atlanta is the home team. They're back at home. They're the highest scoring offense. But obviously, as a Packer fan, Packers, I got to pick Green Bay because I believe in my Packers. I believe my Packers will go 16-0 every single year. But I say when the time matters, especially in the playoffs, against tough teams, when they're on the road, at home, I got to believe in Green Bay other way. I mean, this will be a tough game for Green Bay. I think Green Bay is going to win. I'm going to pick Green Bay to win. But if I can see Atlanta winning. I can see Atlanta winning. Mainly because they picked apart Green Bay's secondary and gave it to Julio Jones. But anyway, Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football. We are watching right now with 11 minutes left, 26-21, Dallas again over Philly. I don't think anyone really expected Philadelphia to be 4-2 with their number 2 pick overall, quarterbacking them, and just coming off, I would say, their biggest win of the season by beating the former undefeated Minnesota Vikings. But, I mean, their 2 big wins so far for Philly have been Minnesota and Pittsburgh. But the thing is, where they do that, they did it at home. They did it at
But to have that kind of
at home.
courage and toughness to run routes in the
Their
middle of the
2
field,
losses,
become dependable targets for their quarterbacks and move the sticks.
they were on the road at Detroit and at Washington. And it was a combination of 8 points they lost by a point against Detroit and 7 against Washington. So this is a huge road test. Under the lights, in the dome, out in the Lone Star State against Dallas, against Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. We'll see if this defense, Dallas, when they took on Green Bay against the best run stop defense, they ran all over them. We'll see if Philly's defense can get to Prescott and take out Elliott. Dallas on the flip side, they're coming off their bye. I'm pretty sure Prescott's going to start the game. I'm pretty sure Elliott's going to rush for maybe another 100 yards. I'm pretty sure Dez Bryant will be back, but I don't think Prescott's going to throw to him a lot. Maybe once or twice. But I know Dallas is at home. Their only loss so far came against a divisional opponent, and you know what? Their second loss is going to come to a divisional opponent in the hands of Philadelphia. I really like Philly in this game. I think their defense can get past that one of the best offensive lines in the league right now. And Philly, they take care of Dallas. I think I don't know if they're on the road, but I'm not saying. And they made Minnesota's offensive line look like Swiss cheese. I know that offensive lines, these are different, but I think Philly can penetrate. They can hang in there and maybe win by a field goal. I like Philly. We'll see what Madden likes. I would like to see Madden get a few more right to improve its record. Wow. And Dallas is starting to run away with it. But I like Philly in this game mainly because of their defense. That's why I picked Philly last week to beat Minnesota. But the thing is, it's the road environment. Philly needs to win on the road in a tough environment to show that they are for real, especially in the East. So, Philly for that one. If anything, that's my upset pick, for sure. Last, but not least, Monday Night Football on All Hallows Eve. The former undefeated team, the Minnesota Vikings, at Chicago. Divisional rivals. Go at it. We will see if Sam Bradford and company can bounce back, or can the Chicago Bears, can they share the limelight with the Chicago Cubs, the Cubbies? Can they share the limelight with them, get a win, upset the Vikings? I'll put it this way. I'll be pulling for Chicago. I'll be pulling for the Bears, but you know what? I think this is the first time all year I'm going with Minnesota. I don't really want to pick Minnesota. I want to pick a huge upset. Jay Cutler comes back. He starts his 100th game under center. And he just picks apart Minnesota. But the thing is, that's not happening. That's not going to happen. Minnesota will bounce back. Their offensive line maybe will be shaky. I think Chicago can expose that, but Minnesota's defense is just going to tear Chicago's offense apart. They get maybe 2 defensive scores, and Minnesota walks out of Chicago with a win, a W. So those are my picks. There's at least 5 games that I think go either way when it's all said and done. I think there's at least 5 games that are going to end by a possession or less. 8 points or less. I'll say 8 points, between 8 to 2 points. 8 to 1 point, whatever. Less than 8 points or less, games will finish. 5 games for sure. Might have to put my money where my mouth is. Oh, and so we'll see with 7 minutes left
territory.
We have 7 minutes left in this game.
So many times
Dallas
you
is
hear
up
today's NFL
33 to
described as a
21.
space game. Get your best
It's
players into space with the football in
oh,
their hands.
it looks like
That's why
time's
sometimes
running
you
out
swing it
for
out to your
Philly.
runner, get him out in the flat, and let him have a chance to make people miss it
But
open field.
I don't know. I think for the most part it will be close to begin the game, but maybe at the end Dallas might pull away or Philly might pull away. I mean, it just takes one play. I mean, that's what happened in the game against Minnesota for Philly. Philly gets that kick return for a touchdown, and it was all Philly after that. So, just saying.
Throwing on first is Wentz.
I mean, Philly has. Oh, they're running out of time. They are running out of time, but they still have they're what 6:20 left. They're moving the ball. They're down by 12 points.
And in today's NFL, it almost feels routine.
Yes.
And I hate that when you're talking
Down
about
by
the
12,
passing
so
game. To me, 300 yards
they still need 2
signifies
touchdowns.
excellence, and he's achieved that in this performance.
Now the offense lining up 1st and 10.
And let's see, they're at the 31-yard line. Dallas is 31.
First down.
Wentz, oh, wide open in the red zone. It's not 1st and goal yet because it's only at the 11.
A good pick up there of 20 yards. Well, clearly one of his advantages as a passer is his height. Sit back in the pocket, fired over the middle. That makes things tougher defensively, doesn't it?
It really does, because your goal is to move the quarterback off his initial spot when he gets his drop back completed. But when you have that type of height, he can in there if he's willing to take the hits and just fire over the top, which saves him time and actually completes a play a little bit quicker than it normally
So
does.
what we got? We got 5.5, 5:20 left. The ball's at the 11. They need a touchdown here. So, oh, you can't drop the ball like that.
Josh
You
off the
can't do
intended
that.
target. That'll bring up 2nd down.
Receivers work all the time on making sure they catch the ball, haul it into their bodies before they turn and run. A little bit of loss of focus on that play.
You can't drop the ball like that. So what is it now? 2nd and 10 at the 11. Well, they at least can still get a 1st down at the
10
goal
yards still
line.
left on 2nd down. Now flags come
Oh, what false
in.
start it looks
one of
like.
the Eagles might have moved.
False start, offense.
You can't do that. You can't, especially with time running out, you can't false start like that.
So the defense has put them in a tough spot. It's 2nd and long.
So let's see. Now it's 2nd and 15 at the 16. They gotta get to 1 or the end zone. They hand the ball off, and he goes nowhere.
Lose yardage here. It'll be a loss
I
of a
mean,
yard, and they're gonna face
yes,
an uphill battle here on 3rd and
a
long.
field goal will
We just
pull
saw
them
another example of how the
within
defense is winning this game, really at the point of
9.
attack. The offensive line's just
But
getting
they
pushed
need
around.
they
I
need
think
touchdowns. They
now
need
as
2
a play
touchdowns.
caller, you got to give them a little bit of help. Maybe keep your tight ends a little bit more. Maybe the running backs help you a little bit with the pass blocking. But you've got to help them get some confidence, because you can't abandon the play calling right now.
So big 3rd down. You lose the yard. Oh, what type of play calling is that?
Yardage here, back at the 21-yard line. And a loss of 3 to bring up 4th.
To me,
I
that's a
mean,
superior
they
play
more or
by
less
Patrick,
have to go for it.
because he was allowed to, I think, run free on it and make that play. His defensive linemen,
Because,
they cover things down for him,
like I said, they're
because
down by
offensive
12.
guys, the linemen, what they're trying
They
to do,
can't
as
kick
you
a field goal.
is block the guy at the point of attack and then climb to the next level and get the linebacker. And you're not allowed to
Yep,
climb.
here we go.
You got a
4th
free
and
hit, that's what we
19.
saw
All they
there.
got to do is get to the 1-yard line.
Nice play resulted for them.
Oh, they false
Now
start again?
flags come in here. Looked like one of the Eagles might have moved.
Offense.
Oh my gosh. You can't afford that. Wow. Now it's 4th and 24 at the 26-yard line. They have to get to the 1 or get a touchdown. This is ridiculous. And I mean, this could happen on Sunday night.
And they're indeed going to go for it here on 4th down.
What do you mean,
So
indeed?
trailing
They
in the
have
last
to.
quarter. Let's see how this plays out. Now Wentz gotta
Yes,
have
take the
this
shot.
one.
He has plenty of
Surveying
time. Gets
the
rid of it.
field.
Oh,
And
overthrows
the
his
Eagles
target.
unable to convert there
So
on
Dallas
4th.
takes over on
And the
down with
Cowboys defense is
3:53
gonna get
left
the
in the
football
game.
back. So still
And
3 minutes remaining in this game.
it's-
But boy, not getting that one that hurt.
That's a little
Yeah,
bit
it does hurt,
demoralizing,
but you know
so they
what?
have to be
Oh,
careful
well.
about that because still have an opportunity if they can get some things done on defense. But now, since they've taken over on downs, a team with the ball, guess what? Going to 4-minute offense, maybe they can put this thing away.
So out come the Cowboys now as their offense gets set to take over. And they were able to punch it in the end zone last time. They'll be looking to do that again here for the defense. Obviously, they'll be looking to stop.
Dallas
them from
just
punching
needs to
it
get
back
down
in
to
the end zone.
2-minute warning
It always
and
is punch, counter punch,
then
isn't it? And which team
make sure they
has
use
the
up all their
advantage? Let's just
timeouts
go
and
back. Last time on offense,
call
they
it-
rolled
call it
downfield,
it.
Get into a good rhythm. You can see a little more bounce in and out of the huddle. You can see the sideline really get into the game. So defensively, you're thinking to yourself,
so we're going to.
how do
I'm
we
pretty
take
sure we're
that
going to see
away
a
from
lot
them?
of
How do we get the
Ezekiel
advantage back?
Elliott.
Let's see what they come up with. I think pressure is always the first way to go.
You love pressure.
Oh, they
Let's
wrapped
see
him
if
up
they
pretty good.
dial it up this drive. Give him a couple on the carry there. 2nd and 8.
When the 4-3 defense is functioning really well, you know who stays what we call clean and no one gets to him? The guy playing the middle linebacker position, the guy we call Mike.
So Philly doesn't
That
start
means the
using their
defensive front
timeouts
is
yet.
hitting up all the blocks and just let him go to the football and make a play.
But they're taking Dallas is taking enough time off the clock. Ooh, they're gonna pass it. Oh, hits his receiver Beasley.
And down he goes, but he takes it up to the 40. 12 yards there as they move the chains. He's played a great game. It continues right there, even with this lead. Confident to throw the pass and have the reception made.
There's no doubt who the leader of their team is there? There's no doubt who they want to ride all the way to the finish. Because strategy would tell you, run the football, run the clock down. Instead,
So what we're at?
they're
We're
letting
at
him throw it because they feel that confident in
2:35
what
and
he's
counting.
getting done.
1st and 10. There's snap, handoff to Elliott. Elliott. Oh,
I think the second tackler would have learned from the first.
7 yards on the pickup there, and it'll leave
and that'll take him to the 2-minute warning.
I know that every now
I'm
and then we
surprised
get
Philly
those
hasn't
little
called
coaches,
timeouts.
And you almost want to roll your eyes when they talk about staying on schedule
So
when they're moving the
I
football.
maybe
Would you say
Philly
a 7-yard
submitted.
run is ahead of schedule?
4th quarter with the lead. You love that, don't you?
No doubt about it, because staying on schedule is trying to get 4 downs on 1st down.
And
They
I
did
will
that
say
plus
it'll be
3.
hard for. I mean, Dallas did lose their first game of the season at home. So
4th quarter, 2-minute warning about to hit, and it looks like they're going to get one more play in.
Be interesting to see what they try and do on this play. Do they try and take a shot, or do they just try and get to the 2-minute warning?
So the Cowboys in possession of the football here as we get you
Woo.
reset. They've got a 2nd down now as they look to salt this one away.
all they gotta do is get the first down. I mean, if Philly decides not to call timeouts,
So 2nd down, 3 yards to go now. One man on the backfield.
Let's see.
Elliott.
we'll find out if Philly starts calling timeouts or not. They get the first down. Yep, here come the timeouts. Yes, now he decides to call timeouts.
It's just their first. They've got 2 more to use here in the final stages. And now following that timeout, the defense back out onto the field.
So Philly uses their first timeout. 1:56 left. Here's the handoff to Elliott. Elliott pounds his way for a few yards, and here comes another timeout by who else but none other than Philadelphia. They only have one timeout left though. So if Dallas gets the first down, it's over. Second and 7.
They got a little bit of a breather. Now they're back and set as we resume play.
Oh, it sucks when.
That brings up second down here.
So what? Second and 7. Hand off to Elliott. Elliott pounds his away. It's going to be third and short, but the final timeout.
Now hang on here. Timeout called by the defense. It'll be their third and final timeout, so as they talk things over, we'll step aside. So a defensive timeout, chance to regather, regroup.
So Dallas just get the first down. Get the first down. Get the first down, Daddy.
Following the run, we'll see what they do here on third down.
So we can end this.
They'll come out in the pistol.
Here's handoff to Elliott. Did he get the first?
He needed 3. He got 2. Now that'll set up an interesting situation.
4th and 1.
4th and a yard.
This team doesn't mind running the ball in any situation, and I thought he was going to get the first down the way the play developed, but the defense closed in and stopped him just about a yard short.
So I'm pretty sure they'll.
Out now comes the Cowboys.
Yeah, they're going to punt.
As he's on here to punt it away.
Oh, it's blocked!
Eagles get there to block it, and they will take possession of the football just shy of midfield.
Oh, if they would have been able to return that for a touchdown on that block, I mean, then they, but I don't know. No timeouts.
However form, whether it's over your head or to the side, never good. Now it becomes a race to get to the football so they don't pick it up and take it all the way.
So what? Little over a minute and a second. No timeouts. They need a miracle.
And on the outside, they're playing press coverage. They go play action here on first down. Now a desperation throw deep downfield. And it drops down incomplete. Thought he might have had it. Instead, second down.
And when all else fails as a defender, when you're not there in the coverage, your best friend is exactly what we saw there. A big play shot taken by the offense. Unfortunately, it ended in a big drop.
And Charles, in this situation, this is where the word miracle comes into play.
Have to score real fast, maybe throw a jump ball in the end zone and hope for the best.
Once again here on 2nd and 10.
Oh, he catches it, but
he's got it complete. It's an 8-yard pickup, and all of a sudden here it's third down. And now they're in the hurry up. Wentz looking to throw on 3rd and 2. He's going to flip one out here to his running back. And he's going to get the first down.
But what, 30 seconds and counting? He has to hurry up. He spiked it. Okay. So was it 2nd and 10?
Wentz to throw again.
Yeah, throws it away.
He chucks this one away from harm. Incomplete. Now it's third down. So incomplete on second down. Now they'll look to convert here on third. Now Wentz on third down. He's got
plenty of
in the
time.
pocket.
He has to get
He's
rid of
gonna
it.
let fly.
Oh,
He dropped it.
incomplete.
Couldn't hang on in the
Finally,
end
here we
zone.
go.
So
Probably the
no
second
6
last
points,
game.
incomplete.
I'm not quite sure how he wasn't able to hold on to that one in the end zone. A great opportunity lost, but a lot of relief for the defensive guys. When they get into film next week, they're going to want to know what happened.
So
Where was
4th
the
and 10,
breakdown
15
that almost
seconds
allowed a
left.
touchdown?
Gotta try it here.
Plenty of
He's back to
time.
throw. He's got time. Oh, he's
He
able
catches
to
it first
muscle
down.
here as he
Yeah, he's
pulls
out
it
of bounds,
in.
but 10 seconds.
Call it a gain of 13 yards on the play. And the decision to go for it pays off. They've got a 1st and goal.
First and
Both
goal.
sides were holding
Give
their
out
breath there
too
on that
much
4th
time.
down play, and the offense can breathe a sigh of relief.
And both knew exactly where the first down markers were. You know the defense is trying to guard those sticks and try and keep people
10
in front,
seconds.
but somehow,
Come
some
on.
way,
This
those guys found a way to pick it
This
up.
game is taking too much. Taking too long. That's all I gotta
And the
say.
next snap coming inside the red zone here.
Oh, and
Now
that's like their
flags come in
5th
here.
false start.
Looked like one of the Eagles might have moved.
False start. Offense. Still first down.
Here we go on first
So
and
what?
15.
1st and 15.
Again, they'll throw with Wentz.
8, 7, 6.
And that is incomplete.
5
Stopping
seconds
the
left.
clock
This will
with
probably
5
be the
seconds to
last.
go.
I hope I don't
Hopefully
sound too
this is the
rah-rah on
last.
that one, but that's the exact right throw. Either your receiver gets it,
Last,
or no one gets it. Give him a lot
last
of credit
attempt.
for being really precise with it.
Got rid of it. No one got it. And barring
You know,
something
can't handle it
unforeseen,
anymore.
This will be the last play of the game.
This is the last play. 5 seconds. Philly's going to lose. And we'll see if Madden can get this right, bounce back and go 4 and 5.
Fighting his safety
And
there.
what
That's complete.
a
And here
pathetic
he'll
throw.
Get it down to the 7. Charles, we saw a lot of points go up in this one.
So
Certainly
there you go.
defensively,
There's your final.
stuff that they can look at
Dallas
on film, don't you
33,
think?
No
Philly
doubt about it. They gotta
21.
go back and check where
We'll
the
see.
errors are, how they're gonna
We'll
fix
see
them,
how well
continue to
Madden
get
does.
better at what they do.
See if they
also
bounce
need a
back
little
and get this
adjustment
one
with
right.
confidence to
Get it
give up that
wrong.
many points,
Who knows?
even if you win
Madden's
the
track
game, that can
record.
hurt you.
It seems like every other week. But, you know, it's a. I think this might be an accurate outcome for once. We'll, give men double points if they get the correct score. So it's over. Final score, like they said before, and we'll say again, 33-21. Dallas wins. I think this lineup of games on Sunday aren't the best, but hey, what you gonna do?
So that's
Nothing's
a
gonna
wrap
be
for Charles
perfect.
Davis. I'm Brandon
So,
Gaudin, and this
but
has
I
been a
do think this will be the
presentation
best
of
game
NFL
of the
on
week.
EA
That's why it's on
Sports. For
Sunday
more,
night.
check us
That's
out
why I
at
simulated it. And
EASports.com.
Madden,
It's
come
a
on.
win for the
I still
Cowboys
think
as
Philly's
we
gonna
sign
win,
off
but
and say so long
anyways,
from Arlington.
thanks for watching. Tune in next week. We'll see how I do pick wise, see what other interesting news comes up throughout the NFL this week, and all I gotta say is go Packers.